Resident Evil 4.
"1998. I'll never forget it. It was the year when those grisly murders occurred in the Arklay Mountains. Soon after, the news was out to the whole world, revealing that it was the fault of a secret viral experiment conducted by the international pharmaceutical enterprise, Umbrella. The virus broke out in a nearby mountain community, Raccoon City, and hit the peaceful little town with a devastating blow crippling its very foundation. Not taking any chances, the President of the United States ordered a contingency plan to sterilize Raccoon City. With the whole affair gone public, the United States government issued an indefinite suspension of business decree to Umbrella. Soon its stock prices crashed, and for all intents and purposes, Umbrella was finished. Six years have passed since that horrendous incident.
You've played Resident Evil 4 Remake. You've read every document. You've uncovered every secret. But there's one massive connection to Resident Evil 9 that you completely missed, and it's buried so deep in the game's rewritten lore that even hardcore Ray fans are walking right past it. The game doesn't just tease Ray 9. It fundamentally rewrites the entire government conspiracy that started this whole nightmare, and here's the crazy part. Capcom might be using RE4's expanded story to reshape the franchise's entire identity around a truth that's been hidden since 1998.
My assignment is to search for the president's missing daughter.
What? All by yourself?
Let's start with something that seems small but is actually massive. In the original Resident Evil 4, Leon opens the game by explicitly stating that Umbrella's shares plummeted after Raccoon City and the company went bankrupt. It's a throwaway line, a simple confirmation that Umbrella was done. But here's what's wild, the RE4 Remake completely removes this line. And I mean completely. The remake's opening focuses entirely on Leon's personal journey getting drafted into a government program against his will. It never mentions Umbrella's alleged downfall.
September 30th, 1998. It's a day I'll never forget. The cop inside me died that day. And that night, Raccoon City was wiped out, thanks to the bioweapons created by Umbrella. Somehow I made it out, but too many others weren't so lucky. I was asked later to join a top-secret government program. Not that I had a choice. The training, punishing missions, nearly killed me. But at least I kept my mind off everything. If I could just forget what happened that night. The pain, even for a second. This time, it can be different. It has to.
So tell me, Yankee, why did you come to this horrible place? As close to nowhere that I've ever seen.
Let's just say, looking for someone.
That someone must be very important, huh? The chief gave the orders himself. Help him, he said.
I'm sure your boys didn't come all the way out here to roast marshmallows. Maybe you did.
You have a strange sense of humor. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Just between us. A lot of people have gone missing around here. And it's been that way for a while now.
Well then, should be just another day in the office, right?
I mean, last week there was a search for some missing hikers.
I'm sure you'll do your best to help me.
I think this is it.
Why would Capcom delete this detail? Because they're setting up for RE9 to reveal something huge. Umbrella never actually went away. Not fully. And the government knew it all along. Think about it. Blue Umbrella doesn't show up until RE7. So what was Umbrella doing in the 6-year gap between RE2 and RE4? If the original Umbrella was truly bankrupt and defunct, how do we explain all the bioweapons, parasites, and corporate espionage still happening in RE4 Spain? The answer is staring us in the face. The US government was secretly controlling Umbrella assets the whole time, and Capcom just erased the evidence from Leon's opening monologue. Now let's talk about Ada Wong, because her role in RE4 Remake tells us everything about how the government conspiracy works. In the remake, Ada is working for the organization Albert Wesker's shadowy network. Krauser is her backup. They're tasked with retrieving Elias Plaga's samples from the cult in Spain. But here's the crucial part that everyone glosses over. Wesker's organization isn't separate from government interests. It's a paramilitary extension of them. The organization is essentially the government's Black OPS division, plausible deniability at its finest. They can operate anywhere, answer to no one officially, and pursue biological weapons research without congressional oversight. In RE4 Remake, there's even expanded dialogue about this. Lewis directly tells Leon about his involvement with people experimenting on him, creating parasitic implants. And who's coordinating all of this? An organization that traces directly back to Wesker, who was working with the government since RE1. This matters for RE9 because it sets up the revelation that Capcom's been building toward. The US government never actually shut down bioweapons research. They just privatized it. They handed it to Wesker's organization. And now, in RE9, we're going to meet the result of 30 years of continued experimentation, an entire program called Elpis that the government has been developing in secret laboratories beneath Raccoon City's ruins.
Leon, I hope you can hear me. I'm Ingrid Hunnigan. I'll be your support on this mission.
This is where it gets insane. Grace Ashcroft, the protagonist of RE9, isn't just another survivor caught in a bioweapon outbreak. She's the daughter of Alyssa Ashcroft, a character from Resident Evil Outbreak. Alyssa was an investigative reporter looking into the truth about Raccoon City. She was murdered 8 years before RE9 begins, murdered while investigating the Renwood Hotel in the ruins of Raccoon City. Why would someone murder an investigative reporter decades after an incident? Because she was getting close to the truth about what the government was really doing under those ruins. Grace is being pulled into her mother's investigation, and here's the killer connection to RE4 Remake. Grace is an FBI technical analyst. She's working within the government structure that has been covering everything up. She doesn't know it yet, but she's literally walking into a conspiracy where her own employer, the FBI, is complicit in her mother's murder. The RE4 Remake establishes that Leon was forced into government service. He had no choice. He was essentially blackmailed into compliance by using Sherry's safety as leverage. Grace is about to discover that the very institution she trusted sent her into the field, knowing full well what she'd find. She's being used as a pawn in a game that started before she was born. Okay, now we're at the smoking gun. Based on leaked details and files from RE9 Requiem, there's a project called Elpus hidden beneath Raccoon City. Elpus, which literally means hope in Greek, a reference to Pandora's box, represents a bioweapon program that the US government has been secretly developing for 30 years. Here's what makes this connect to RE4 Remake. In the RE4 Remake's expanded dialogue, we learn that William Birkin, the scientist who created the G-Virus, was in constant contact with the US military. He wanted to sell them the G-Virus directly, cutting Umbrella out of the equation. The government was interested. They were shopping around for alternatives. This means the government knew Umbrella was unstable. They knew there was going to be an outbreak, and instead of shutting Umbrella down, they orchestrated the Raccoon City incident to cover up their own involvement while simultaneously acquiring Umbrella's remaining biological assets. They weaponized the disaster. They turned it into an opportunity. The N2 thermobaric missile wasn't just a containment measure, it was evidence destruction. And once the dust settled, the government established its own laboratory in Raccoon City using captured Umbrella scientists, people who had no choice but to comply, just like Leon. They've been running Elpis ever since, using T-virus samples that were recovered from the ruins. For 30 years, the government has been doing exactly what Umbrella did, creating bioweapons, just under a different name.
Set free.
Now here's where the RE4 Remake becomes crucial to understanding what RE9 is doing. The remake didn't just retell RE4's story, it fundamentally reframed every single element of it through a lens of government conspiracy. Look at the changes. Leon's forced into compliance, not hired. Ada's moral journey becomes a rejection of Wesker's world order vision. Lewis's guilt is emphasized, he's a victim of experimentation. Ashley's infection becomes a plot to infiltrate the government at the highest levels. Krause's true allegiance isn't to Los Illuminados, he's working for Wesker's organization, which is itself a government front operation. And then there's the ending. In the remake, Ada hijacks the helicopter and changes course at the last second. The final line is, "We're changing course now." What is Capcom saying? They're telling us that the entire trajectory of the RE series, everything since RE1, has been corrupted by government conspiracy. The remake is literally a course correction, preparing us for a story where that corruption finally gets exposed. That's RE9. That's what Requiem means. It's a funeral mass for the lies that have been buried in Raccoon City. Grace and Leon are going to dig them up.
Patch me through. I've obtained the amber.
Excellent.
Just one question. What are you planning to do with this?
We do not pay you to ask questions. All you need to know is a new dawn is breaking. 100 will give their lives so that just one may live. I am expediting that change.
So, we're talking millions of casualties.
Billions.
How ambitious. We're changing course, now.
There's a subtle detail in RE4 Remake that almost nobody caught. Ada mentions something called the Amber during conversations with Leon. It's vague. She doesn't explain it. And in the original game, this line doesn't exist at all. Capcom added this reference deliberately because Amber is going to be significant in RE9. It's either a codename for a project, a biological substance, or both. The fact that it's name-dropped in RE4 Remake and left unexplained is Capcom's way of creating a breadcrumb trail directly to RE9. This is next-level storytelling. Capcom is using the RE4 Remake not as a remake, but as a prequel to RE9. They're recontextualizing previous events through the lens of information players haven't learned yet. By RE9's release, veteran players will be replaying RE4 Remake and going, "Oh, that's what the Amber was." That's the kind of narrative sophistication that separates Resident Evil's new direction from its chaotic RE5-6 era. Let's talk about Leon Kennedy. He's called the main character of RE9, even though Grace is technically the protagonist. Why? Because RE9 is explicitly being marketed as the conclusion of Leon's trilogy RE2 Remake, RE4 Remake, and RE9. But what's the arc? In RE2, he's an innocent cop thrown into hell. In RE4 Remake, he's a reluctant government agent forced to serve a system that blackmailed him into compliance. In RE9, he's returning home to Raccoon City, presumably to finally face the institutional corruption that destroyed his life. Here's the dark truth: Leon has spent his entire existence as a government tool. He's never had agency. He's never had a choice. Every major decision in his life has been made for him by institutions stronger than he is. And the RE4 Remake's expanded story emphasizes this relentlessly. Leon doesn't want to be a government agent. He's doing it under duress. So what happens when he returns to Raccoon City? Does he finally break free? Does he finally expose the truth about what the government did? Or does he continue to protect their secrets, like he's been doing for 20 years? The RE4 Remake suggests he's conflicted. Ada's final decision to change course might inspire him, but it might not. That's the tragedy of RE9. Leon has already been corrupted by the system. The question isn't whether he'll expose the government. The question is whether he can even want to anymore. So here's my prediction for RE9. Based on everything the RE4 Remake has set up, Resident Evil 9 is going to be the game where the Resident Evil franchise finally grows up and confronts its own legacy. It's going to explicitly reveal that the US government orchestrated the Raccoon City incident, murdered witnesses like Alyssa Ashcroft, and has been running a black ops bioweapons program for 3 decades. Grace is going to uncover hard evidence of this. She's going to find government documents, maybe even meet survivors who were part of Elpis. And she's going to be faced with a choice: release this information and destroy her own country's credibility on the global stage, or bury it becoming complicit in the system that killed her mother. Leon, meanwhile, is going to be the voice opposing her, not because he's evil, but because he's been broken by the system. He'll genuinely believe that revealing the truth would cause more harm than good. He'll have rationalized 30 years of complicity into a moral framework where silence is duty. And that conflict between Grace's youthful idealism and Leon's institutional corruption will be the emotional core of RE9. But here's the kicker: Capcom has shown, through the RE4 Remake, that they want Ada to inspire change. We're changing course now. That's not random. That's a mission statement. So I predict Grace will win that argument. I predict RE9 ends with the truth about Raccoon City exposed to the world. And I predict that exposure will fundamentally reshape the Resident Evil universe. The government conspiracy doesn't get covered up in RE9. It gets requiemed, it gets a funeral. Finally, after 30 years of bioterrorism, RE9 is going to lay the blame where it actually belongs, not on Umbrella, not on random cults and parasites, but on the institutions that weaponize those disasters for power. That's the connection the RE4 Remake was building toward. That's why Capcom removed Umbrella's bankruptcy from Leon's opening monologue. That's why Ada's final line is, "We're changing course now." That's why Grace is investigating her mother's murder. That's why Leon is conflicted. So, what do you think? Did you catch any of these connections on your first playthrough of RE4 Remake? Drop a comment below. And if you want more deep dive theory videos on the Resident Evil series before RE9 releases in February 2026, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.